2006, a day before his birthday, and he just took 2 steps. Benjamin.
He wasn't in a good situation for himself, and the family, the dynamic was just very, very stressful.
He would get very angry and he would just start hitting, or he would start yelling.
And he would get very angry with us, and sometimes he would start to, scream and kick and yell, and he would just, kind of take it to another level.
The house at night was just chaotic. Everybody was yelling. There was a lot of fights that broke out between Benjamin and my other children, or just between my other children.
When we would go out and there would be a food around him that he really wanted, sometimes we would say no, and he started yelling and he started to throw a tantrum, and people were staring, and it was embarrassing a little bit.
I would kind of hold back from wanting to go out or taking him places, because I never knew how he was going to react to things.
And his siblings would be upset. Why does he have to behave this way? Why can't we go out for a Shabbos meal? And when you are in a public, even family situations, it's hard when it's your child, when they stand out, it's hard. So I needed a way to make it better.
We knew that there were issues, and around 4 or 5, we decided it was time to have him evaluated. And that's when we found out that he was classic ADHD. He had a hard time sitting in one spot for a long period of time. He had difficulty focusing. He wasn't able to communicate his thoughts. So Benjamin was in a Jewish daycare, and it wasn't working out as well as we had hoped, and we put him into public school for 2 years.
Public school was not the placement for him for many reasons.
From there, we put him into a yeshiva, and it was just a difficult year. Every day was another story, and as the year went on, Benjamin was having more and more difficulty in school, and therefore we decided that he can't go into 2nd grade the way he is, and maybe we should entertain the idea of SINAI. And I called Marcy Glicksman up.
And simultaneously, the school that he was in also called. What they described was a child that was becoming the problem child, the child that couldn't keep up, the child that was getting in trouble. So Fagi and Ari came to meet with me.
I was very hesitant about it, but I decided we'll go look at it.
She was really, at that point, not at all committed to sending him.
Making the decision to go to SINAI was not an easy one.
It's the stigma that the parents are fearful of. What will my child be seen like if he goes to a special school?
It was challenging. She was sitting in my office and she was crying, and she said, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can make this move.
We were worried about what others would say.
One of the things that Fagi said to me was, I'm not prepared for the first time that I go to shul and someone says to me, where is Benjamin in school? And I say SINAI, and they say, oh.
I was afraid to say that he goes to SINAI. I was afraid that parents and other people, family and friends, would look at me and know that my child has issues. They would think badly about him. They would ostracize him. I was embarrassed to admit that he was going to SINAI.
For a lot of parents, it's very hard to say my child needs to be in a self-contained classroom. It's kind of the last resort for a lot of parents.
Binyamin is a child that from the outside is very typical. So it wasn't a child who is so disabled that it was so clear to see that he needed to be in a self-contained class, yet he was having so much trouble.
Binyamin came to us as a very angry little boy, which is, from a parent's perspective and a professional's perspective, such a sad thing to see. A 7-year-old boy should not be so angry. And that just happened because he was not in the right place. He was misunderstood. He was not getting the support that he needed.
Making the decision to put him into SINAI was difficult for us, but I would go to the end of the earth for my child, so we decided to give it a try.
When a child comes to us and has only experienced failure, we have to tackle that from multiple perspectives. We have a very collaborative team of educators, of OTs, of speech therapists, of art therapists, psychologists, and every week we're sitting around the table and we're pulling away another layer of that onion. And each professional's pulling away another layer.
He came in with a diagnosis of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, but like many of our kids who come in, it's a label and it really doesn't fully describe who they are.
He does have some significant learning issues, but a far bigger presenting problem when he came to us was his anger and his anxiety.
Having not had much success in prior academic settings, just built up a pattern for him of feeling like he wasn't going to do well, anticipating things wouldn't go well, either academically or socially.
He had a lot of moments of frustration, which led him to act out in certain ways.
He would start either crying or sometimes yelling.
Stop it!
Tantrums.
Binyamin has language difficulties that made it hard for him.
The language itself is really hard for him to understand. What are you asking of me? And when you know what's going on inside, then it's so much easier to work with him.
For the social skills group, our main focus was cooperative skills and learning how to compromise.
We did a lot of social interventions to try to get a better or a different reaction from the person he was talking to, and I think really he learned how to better navigate social situations.
The reason why art therapy is so effective with the special needs population is because it gives them a voice. Art therapy empowers them in a way that no other activity can.
For children struggling with language-based learning disabilities, we find that art therapy is magical. They can express themselves and connect to others around them in a way that they haven't been able to do before.
He was not talking to Avi, who the person was sitting next to him. He was able to write Avi a message in his artwork, and he was telling a story that he wasn't able to tell to me with his words.
Are you guys writing messages to each other in your paintings?
Yeah. Avi, trees. I love Avi. Smiley face.
Avi Binyamin wants to show you what he wrote on his paper. What is that revealing? It says,
I love Avi.
I love Avi. I don't think that he would have said it to him, but he drew it in the secret message.
He's a very sweet, loving boy who's really eager to please. And I think that if you saw him in the beginning of last year, that is not the description you would give of him.
There was just so much baggage that he had in terms of negative experiences that it was just interfering with letting who he is shine through. And I think that once some of those barriers came down for him, we see who Binyamin really is, and we see the sweet boy that he really is.
That to me is the biggest thing that we do at SINAI, building self-esteem. And while I focus so much on the emotional piece, that is what then lets you be an academic learner. Because once kids feel good about themselves, then we can take it to the next level.
We really saw a lot of academic progress in terms of his reading. That was an area of struggle for him, and he really moved up.
His reading is it just has improved, remarkably.
Math is a big, strong point for him. Benjamin was so excited to learn math. It was his favorite subject, and I just kept pushing him and giving him more and more because he was so proud of all of the accomplishments.
He goes to a mainstream inclusion setting for tefillah every morning. So I watch him walk through the hall, and he's walking through the hall so proudly, And that's what's great to see. Like, he's feeling good about his accomplishments. He's feeling good about the steps that he's taking.
He went into the YNJ second grade davening class, and just the warmth that Rabbi Katei showed towards him, it was the love that Rabbi Katei showed towards him, and to make him part of the class. He just made Benjamin feel like like $1 million when he came.
We came into Sinai with tears of sadness in our eyes, and by the end of the year, we just had tears of happiness.
When a child feels good about themselves, that's not confined to the classroom. It really changed their whole lives as a family.
Before Sinai, the house at night was just chaotic. And last year, I remember there was one night that everybody was just doing their homework and supper was over, and it was just a calm, relaxing environment. And I thought to myself, wow, we've made it. We've come so far. I realized that Benjamin was happier. He was coming home feeling more confident. He knew he was succeeding in school, and he felt it, and therefore he wasn't as angry and as upset as he used to be. And that made the whole evening just run so much smoother, and the dynamics totally changed.
I needed a way to make it better, and Sinai provided that way. It made his whole outlook, his behavior, his relationship with his siblings just better.
We definitely became closer because he's willing to become closer now.
I really want to thank all of his teachers and everybody at Sinai, because he is just so much happier now that he's been there, and I don't even know how it would have been possible without them.
It's just beautiful.
Knowing that I had such a difficult time accepting the fact that my son was going to Sinai, and thinking about it now, I feel like I'm a better parent because I sent him to Sinai. I realized that I want the best for my child, and I want to know that he is going to be somebody that I'm going to be so proud of. And that's not going to happen if I would have just left him in a regular ed classroom.
We should do our best as Sinai parents and the Sinai family to not allow and not listen to the stigma. It's not something that we're going to entertain. The important part is the success of the child, and wherever that leads is where you must go.
Sinai gave me hope. They made me see that Benjamin has a lot of great qualities, and he's going to make something of himself. If parents feel that they don't have hope, Sinai gives you that hope, and they did it for us.
A song for you, my child, filled with hope and joy, 'cause they embrace you. What a change in you, in the open arms of Sinai. I want it all for you. I want all of your dreams to come true. I want it all for you. There is nothing that I wouldn't do. In the open arms, the arms of Sinai.